the Yanks are coming, the drums rum-tumming everywhere.
Welcome back to my show this month. We're interviewing another military veteran who talked to us about their military service and their experiences. The Military Academy at West Point has been educating and graduating American officers since 1802. Some of America's greatest leaders have had their skills taught to them there. During the Revolutionary War, West Point was a strategic stronghold for the Continental Army. It was there to keep the British from breaking the New England away from the rest of the colonies. So there is some history at West Point. General Benedict Arnold was commander of West Point at that time, and he had done some magnificent things, won some victories, including Saratoga, where the Americans were able to persuade the French to come in on our side of the war. Unfortunately, he did not get the recognition and the honors that should have been granted to him, so he felt discouraged, and he offered West Point up to the British. Fortunately, the attack was stymied, and Benedict Arnold became the watchword of the first treacherous acts in America. But in 1802, President Jefferson made the West Point the military academy, and it's been teaching our officers since then. Some of the best men in America and women. It's mainly focused on science, mathematics, and military essentials, but discipline and physical training are highly stressed. Many of our famous Americans have graduated from West Point, including two presidents of the United States, Ulysses S. Grant and Dwight David Eisenhower. The motto of West Point is duty, honor, country. Today, my guest is Vanessa Waters, a West Point graduate. She selected the artillery as her choice of combat arms. She served with distinction in the 101st Airborne, the 5th Special Forces Group, and the 434th Field Brigade, Artillery Brigade. In 2019, she deployed to Iraq in support of Combined Joint Task Force during Operation Inherent Resolve. Besides her education from the United States Military Academy, she holds a master's degree in public health from Liberty University. During her service, she commanded at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, where she transformed American citizens into soldiers. After 8 years of military service, she leads efforts to strengthen service for veterans across Cook County as Interim Director of Veterans Affairs for Cook County, Illinois. Welcome, Vanessa, and thank you for coming on my show.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
What made you decide to go to West Point?
I do get asked this question a lot, and there is a standard answer maybe that's like, oh, I wanted to be a leader and I wanted to serve, but my true answer is my parents were enlisted, I got the opportunity, and they sent me. I was a high school volleyball player. That's all I wanted to do in college. And so originally I got recruited to West Point to play volleyball there. And so when my parents saw that, they strongly pushed it. I strongly pushed back at first, but ultimately made the right decision.
It's really something about military parents, right?
Yes, absolutely.
What did you have to do to be selected, and what was the criteria required for that selection?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of said it in your opening. West Point has 3 pillars. You're a scholar, so academics, you're an athlete, and you're a leader. So when it comes to the selection process, it starts with having good grades, right? I think most of my classmates were valedictorians. So it starts with having good grades. Part of the nomination process, you have to write essays, you have to be interviewed, you have to get a senator's nomination, and then you have to pass a series of physical tests. Usually your application process starts early in your junior year of high school so that you can accomplish all those tasks. But a lot of kids now know that they want to go to West Point, so they start early, that freshman, sophomore year, physically getting ready, mentally getting ready, and then academically being up to par with the other cadets, right?
Okay, what was your first day like at West Point?
First day, we call it Beast, is your first day. And it's what our enlisted personnel would call basic training. For us cadets, we called it Beast. And it was a roller coaster. If I can remember, I was 18. And again, my parents were enlisted. So a lot of parents brought their kids their first day, gave them kisses, said goodbye. My parents put me on a plane and said, best of luck, they'll give you everything you need. So you show up with nothing. They give you a green bag, they give you a toothbrush, underwear, clothes, hairbrush if you're a girl. And it's just a whirlwind of learning.
Did they cut your hair?
They did not. So unlike some other academies, females at West Point do not have to cut their hair. And so that was not something that I went through, but I know a lot of my male cadets, that was their first haircut in a long time that day.
It's interesting the first day there, everything
yeah.
goes.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine there were some unusual things that you had to learn and remember. What were some of those?
Oh, I guess I would say general orders was one I will never forget. I will guard everything within the limits of my post and quit my post only when properly
I
relieved.
always remember I'm an American soldier.
Absolutely. It's ingrained somewhere in my heart. Another thing that cadets have to learn is General Schofield. One of his addresses to the cadets, it's about discipline. And General Schofield was a Civil War general. And I believe he was also Secretary of the Army at one point. But he had this famous address to cadets, and it was all about how to gain our soldiers' trust. And I'm not going to say the whole thing, hopefully, but it's like the discipline which makes the soldiers of a free country reliable in battle is not to be gained by harsh or tyrannical treatment. On the contrary, such treatment is far more likely to destroy than to make an army. So here I am, again, an 18-year-old girl volleyball player, and I have to learn verbatim these recitals from these famous Civil War generals. So different things like that we had to remember.
Anything at dinner?
Oh, there's a few things.
I know that they make it interesting at dinner for you when you're a plebe, right?
When you're a plebe, yeah. So a plebe is a freshman, and how it works is you have upperclassmen, seniors who are the commanders of the table, and then it goes down by ranks. And so as a freshman, you sit at another side of the table, and there's different knowledge that you have to recite. So for example, it might be, give me General Schofield's lesson on discipline. Another part of that meal is though, you can't just grab food as a freshman, or you can't just talk as a freshman. You have to do this weird thing, they say, hold out your paw. It's just coming back to me now. It's been 10 years, right? But you hold out your arm like this if I want jelly on my peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And you could wait the whole meal to be called on in order to get that. So yeah, that was interesting.
Teaches a little discipline, huh?
Absolutely.
What were the classes like, and what was classroom formality like?
It was probably not like other college classrooms. Classrooms are very small, maybe 10 to 15 cadets per teacher, and it was all about order and discipline. We didn't have our phones out. We weren't talking. Also, there was a command to everything that we did. if we were going to work on the whiteboards, the command would be take boards. And that means we all get up and then we all go to our designated spot. If we are doing simple math problems, just say 10 plus 10, we are not allowed to draw a line outright. You have to use a ruler to draw a straight line. So different things like that were very different. We also taught ourselves lessons, and the class was meant to ask questions, meaning we had to prepare for the class and know that day's lesson and learn it ahead of time. And then the class was not meant to teach, but to go in and ask our teachers questions and work on the material.
So you were taught basically discipline, but you were also taught to think for yourself.
Yeah, so you didn't have to have the answers and you didn't have to be right, but you had to show that you tried the night before.
Right.
If that makes sense. And
Oh, yeah.
so, and our teachers were all military as well, most of them, majority of them. And so we would have anywhere from major to a full bird colonel who knew if we came in and didn't know that statistics lesson or didn't even read it, right? And we didn't have a question to ask, you could get in a lot of trouble, honestly. So.
You went, when did you go to basic training?
So basic is what we call beast. So it's not your traditional basic training. I go to Fort Sill, I get shipped off on a bus. So it is what I originally called beast, that first day at West Point, is our basic. And that was in 2011. That's a long time ago now.
Well, it's longer for me. What did the academy teach you that you would use through your military
Sure.
and your life as a career?
I think more than anything, the academy taught me patience and the power of silence. Meaning my freshman year, my plebe year, freshmen are not allowed to talk outside at all. Wow. So we couldn't walk to class with our buddy and have a full conversation. But that in turn taught you to watch and saw how other people operated, right? You spent a year being quiet. We also couldn't talk in hallways. We couldn't walk in the middle of hallways. We had to walk on the corners. But in reality, I think that translated over to my time in service when I was a lieutenant and I showed up to an artillery unit and my soldiers knew more than me. I had to be quiet, right? I had to watch. I had to learn even where I fit in, even though I came with this West Point resume. Sure, they didn't care. And so I needed to be quiet for a minute until I got my grounds and learned myself. And so.
Did you pull guard mount?
No.
You didn't have to walk with walk?
No, I did not have to.
Ah, right. Sports are very important.
Yes.
I know you said you played volleyball. Did you play there?
I did. So like I said, everyone is considered an athlete. So whether you play a D1 sport, you're on some type of intramural or a club team. And that's just really to keep you competitive, right? And I was just naturally competitive. One thing I love about West Point is, yes, everyone is an academic. Yes, everyone is an athlete, but usually you fall heavier on one side. But at the end of the day, athletes are still required to do well in academics, right? And then our scholars are still required to do well in their sport. And that brings us all into these leaders, maybe not natural, but it gives us enough experience to be able to lead a small group at the end of the day. So sports were a big part of West Point.
Now, being in the Army, I always watched the Army-Navy game.
Oh, did you?
Did you get to go I'm sure you did get to go to
Absolutely.
an Army-Navy game. What's it like?
Electric. Even if I was there when we were on the losing side.
Oh, so you didn't sing at the end.
I did not sing second. So, I mean, yeah, so in volleyball we did a lot. In other sports we did.
Now, the tradition is the team that, in the military, the team that wins gets to sing their fight song last.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
that's the big benefit.
Yeah, I mean, it's a, yes, It's something deep down in my core that we would take pride in, at least in my own sport. But for football, it always was pretty sad to not be that second one singing. Army football, Navy football, Army Navy game, it's a big deal. But yeah, the games are electric, not just because of the game, but also the games bring out a lot of alumni. So I remember just being a cadet and then connecting with other West Pointers who had done their time in service, who were now out doing what we call civilian things, and they would buy us drinks. And it would just be, it was a really great atmosphere to be in.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
How hard was it to get through to graduate?
For me, pretty tough. Like I said, I was just naturally an athlete, and that's all I wanted to do. So at some point I had to learn. And I had the best mentors in the world who would sit down with me after practice 101 and teach me chemistry, algebra, whatever it was. But really at the end of the day, just teaching me the building blocks to learning something new, right? I was fine physically. The leadership stuff maybe came naturally, but it was academic. So I think for any cadet, they have their challenges. My husband, he's also a West Pointer, one of the smartest people I know, natural athlete, good leader. He was terrible at swimming, right? So that was his thing. So every cadet has their challenge at West Point. Some might be a scholar, they might be an athlete, but when it comes to getting in front of a squad and leading, that is where they have their anxiety. So they have to figure that out, right? Everyone has a different challenge, and that's why it's tough.
Now I got a question for you.
Okay.
You know, when you graduate, you throw your hats in the air, right?
Best part, yeah.
How do you find your hat afterwards?
You don't. So when you graduate, you put a note in your hat with maybe some money, and there is a sea of children who come and collect your hat. And really, it's a give back to the next generation. So just full story, I did know some cadets who were those children. They lived on post or whatever it was. And then they were cadets. So it was really special that they had their own hat from a cadet years before. Also, when my sister is also a West Pointer, when she graduated, I was able to take my kids back to the academy, and they were part of the collecting hats group. So now we actually have two hats.
Now I know.
Yeah, that aren't ours. But yeah, and so we don't keep those hats. Yeah.
Who got your first salute?
Oh, my dad did. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, it was, so first salute's really special. It's usually someone you respect and who's been on the journey with you. You can pick another cadet, you can pick an NCO that taught you everything that you knew, right? And so I was really proud to have it be my dad. Actually, during the first salute, I forgot to drop my salute. And so I was a brand new officer. I just commissioned in that spot. And so went up, he saluted me, and then I saluted him back, and I think I was nervous, and he was like, "Drop your salute, Lieutenant." And so I was like, "Oh, sorry, Dad."
Well, at least it was your dad.
Yeah, oh my gosh. Yeah, it was. But that's a picture that I'll keep
I understand.
forever.
Believe me.
Yeah.
You know, we all who had parents that were military,
Yeah.
we all respected our parents
Yeah.
because they went through the same things we went through.
Yeah, I didn't even know until I started learning about the Gulf War and after 9/11, and like I never understood. Both my parents wore the uniform. I never understood what they went through until I started learning myself and then asking questions, right? And even then, I think we talked about this earlier, you get little pieces
Right.
from everyone's story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What made you decide on the artillery as your branch?
I wish I could say confidently that I chose that. West Point's order of merit. So the top of the class gets their first branch choice. the bottom of the class gets put at needs of the Army. I was kind of in the middle. And back then, women couldn't go infantry. And so, like I said, I was very competitive. Like, I was in great physical shape. That was really important to me. And my dad was an infantry guy. So I got put in a place where there were no more aviation or like big branches left. And so artillery just seemed like a naturally good choice, especially more women were going into artillery then. And yeah, it seemed like the right thing if I wanted to be combat arms.
So you wore red instead of blue.
I did wear red instead of blue.
Red is artillery, blue is infantry.
Yes.
You deployed during Operation Inherent Resolve in Iraq. What were your duties over there, and what was the country like?
Well, first I will say, and I don't know if another guest has said this, but the country is actually beautiful. I feel like sometimes what the media represents of the Middle East is not the best, but you have like expansive flat lands, desert-like, but with beautiful sunsets. My job with Siege Certify was I was a battle captain. So we had something we called a Joint Operations Cell, JOC for short, with, if you can imagine, a bunch of TVs up and different operations going on. My job was to control that 12-hour shift of operations. The overall big picture, again, was to defeat ISIS and with partner forces to stabilize the region at the end of the day. So we worked with Polish special operations soldiers to do this. We work with Spanish ops, and there were a lot of different organizations we worked with, and my job was to make sure everyone was in sync of the different ops that they wanted to run.
Now, you told me a little bit ago that as lieutenant you went into the artillery. What was it like working with a battery or even a battalion of artillery?
It was interesting. It was the best time probably of my career. Artillery soldiers are one of a kind, and I say they are not your infantry men who want to put packs on their backs and go for walks. They want to hop in a vehicle, put down their 119er, 777, and shoot and get back in the vehicle and go home. But I was with 101st then, so we were a light artillery. It was great. I was a lot of their first female leads, and so there were some things we had to adjust to, but in the best way possible. I had the best soldiers, I had the best NCOs, best leadership. It was an overall really good experience.
It's like I told you, my first person that I sent care packages to was in the artillery, and we used to talk at night while he was on duty on messenger, and the one thing he always told me was, when you yell, we shall.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's artillery is all about being loud at the end of the day, and it's always competition, of course, between like artillery guys and infantry guys, but we always say is like we're the ones who save their lives. We give that indirect fire support before they go in. It was a great experience, and I learned a lot.
So you changed. You went to Fort Sill and became in charge of training new recruits. What is it like being able to train young civilians and make them into soldiers?
It's rewarding. That I will say that first. I originally was really upset that, or really disappointed in myself for not commanding artillery, an artillery unit, and having my own set of guns that I commanded, right? But then you meet an 18-year-old motivated female whose parents served, right? Or male who had nothing going on in his life and decided to serve. And then you see them transform after 10 weeks with their uniform on and their pride, and they got their first paycheck. That it's super rewarding. And I know we talked about this a little bit, but it's a different military. people aren't signing up because of patriotism really anymore, of pride, American pride. Really, it's I tried school and now I'm in hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of debt, and the Army said that they would pay it, and now that I'm here. So then as a commander, how do I inspire in that soldier that patriotism, that discipline, that leadership that it takes to take a command on the back end when they're just here to pay for their school?
And there's a lot of single parent children and children that don't have any parents
Absolutely.
come into the Army and find a family.
Absolutely, yeah. I had a ton of foster kids who would come through and they would show up with their, usually like a garbage bag, the few clothes. Someone signed them up and then they got on a bus and now they're here. But even the social dynamics for them is not always the best, and they still have to learn how to have a battle buddy, because they never had that sibling that they trusted, and so there's a lot that goes into it.
One of the things when I deployed to Korea, we always knew the guys who didn't get mail, who didn't have families. And one of the reasons we send the care packages is because a whole squad or a whole company, and we get these letters, and we send letters to the troops from people like the audience. And when they get these letters, they go around because there's people there that don't get any mail.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And you know, just this is more of a funny story. When I was at West Point, there was a lot of the West Point moms would send care packages for those cadets who didn't get any care packages or letters. And so when I was in our basic, what we called Beast, my parents did not write me. And again, my parents are old school NCOs who were like, she's off in basic, she'll probably get one phone call, she'll be fine. And so I was one of those people who ended up getting those care packages, and I was like, no, like my family just thinks they're trying to toughen me up right now. So I wrote my mom a letter, and we still have it. It says, like, please send letters. I don't know, like, you don't need to say anything, but just send something so that, like, these care packages can go to someone else at the end of the day. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
Yes, it is important. What made you decide to leave the Army?
Oh, it still breaks my heart. So I'm freshly out. I just transitioned out about 2.5 years ago. Ultimately, it was just my family. My husband was also an officer. And we got to one point where he would deploy, I would deploy, he deployed. And then within that, we had 3 little kids. And so we just made the tough decision to transition out. And I think for women and women veterans, I'm sure everyone has a similar story. You get to a point where you are in charge of a company of soldiers and they deserve all of you, but then you also have children, and it's like, oh, they deserve all of me too. Right. And it almost seemed impossible to give both my all, right? And so again, ultimately my husband and I decided that we were gonna transition out after 8 years, finish our masters, and try this civilian life thing.
Well, you know, you take what you learned and you use it again.
Yeah.
You're now Interim Director of Cook County Veterans Affairs. What does this job entail, and how does it help Cook County veterans?
Yeah, so really I am that centerpiece for all things military and veteran related in Cook County. Meaning my office actually doesn't do direct services to veterans. That's what the Veterans Assistance Commission of Cook County does, so benefits, assistance, emergency financial relief. My department is a little bit more strategic, and we're internal to the county pushing military veterans affairs, meaning Cook County Health has a tobacco cessation initiative. Well, are we contacting the local VFW chapters, American Legions, the local military groups to ensure that they know about this program? The county has a small business enterprise. Well,
Do our transitioning service members who want to be entrepreneurs know that they can also sign up for this? So different things like that. And we do a lot of legislative work. So what's happening in Springfield, what's happening in Washington, when it comes to military and veteran affairs, what can we introduce? What can we help swing one way or another? So we have a legislative arm. And then we also, in the past 5 years, have disseminated over $5 million in grant funding to the organizations who want to serve veterans. So we had a veteran home rebuilding or home repair program where the idea was like veterans serve our country. Now they come home and their roof is terrible. They need a new roof, but they can't afford it. So our program would come in and provide the funding for that Cook County veteran resident to fix that. So grants, legislative, and that interdepartment county agency that's advocating for our military families and veterans.
How would they get in touch with your organization?
Yeah, so you would go online, cookcountyil.gov/veterans affairs. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like a real good job, and you're doing the right thing.
Yeah, I am one of the lucky ones. I think we all know that transition from service is tough. You have this identity crisis of, who am I? What have I actually done? Did my soldiers do everything for me? But there's been other veterans within Cook County who have helped me understand like what different civilian terms are, what different things are. And I was really lucky to be picked up by the county into a good paying job, because not every veteran transitions well.
Understood.
Right.
My last question I asked all my guests, and I think this is an important one. How do you feel about being a vet?
I feel, I guess, inspired to be a veteran. I guess if you laid out both of our backgrounds, we might have nothing in common. But the fact that we both wore the uniform allows us to sit here and have a conversation. That is inspiring, right? I also feel thankful. I'm 33. I have health care for the rest of my life. I have a property tax exemption for the rest of my life. Unlike other people my age, I could probably pay off my house. I have benefits that extend to my kids' education benefits, right? So I'm also just thankful that such programs exist for people like us, right? So yeah, inspired and thankful probably are the best answers.
Well, I want to thank you for coming on my show, and I'd like to give you this pin and this coin.
Sure, thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Jim.
We send care packages to our troops deployed overseas and afloat. I received this note and picture from the sailors of the USS San Diego, an American LPD, or amphibious landing platform dock, whose job is to carry Marines and their equipment into harm's way. Jim, this is the troops we call the squad. Jim, on behalf of everyone in the photo, they constantly ask for the next box and are very thankful for all the support. I personally don't think the guys would make it through some of the lunches or dinners if it wasn't for the gift boxes. And there's pictures that you'll see. Signed, Jacob Madorma. 2 weeks ago, we celebrated the country's 250th anniversary. I, like all the guests and other veterans, would like to think that we played a part in that happening. We are not a perfect country. We look at it when we are and where we are now. We improve as we go along. We vets feel that we have kept our oaths and helped many in this country be a better place. God bless this land and those that we served and defended. Before I close, I'd like you to take a moment and remind you that our country is at war. We have lost 4 more American heroes, and we should honor their service and their sacrifice. God bless those who we've lost and those who are still serving in harm's way. Thank you again for watching this show. We look forward again to seeing you next month here on PVH TV4. Honor and respect.